Hello everybody and welcome back to another exciting edition of Boyographic, the show in which I, Matt, the Gameboy, will talk you through the highs and lows of the Gameboy library, one card at a time. This week we'll be looking at a bit of an obscure title for the Gameboy. It's Lazlo's Leap. The more and more I look at the vastness of the Gameboy library, the more I realise that there's an incredible depth to the kind of games on offer on it. There are, as I've shown, countless examples of great action games, RPGs, and even racing titles on Nintendo's little handheld that could. But it's not just about epic quests and pretty looking platformers, there's room for traditional titles too. With the likes of Monopoly, Chessmaster, and even the Game of Life, traditional board games are actually pretty well represented on the Game Boy. One experience you might not realise was on offer, however, was the classic game of Solitaire. And no, I don't mean the card game. No, incidentally, you can also play that on the Game Boy if you really wanted to. No, I'm talking Peg Solitaire, the French game in which you must solve a puzzle by the use of jumping pegs that has kept people entertained in homes, waiting rooms and cracker barrels for eons. In Japan, Hector Playing Interface called their game simply Solitaire, but when the game came to the United States, the game's publishers, DTMC, renamed the title to Lazlo's Leap. Why? Well, other than the loose bit of text describing Professor Lazlo and his addiction to solitaire on the back of the box, presumably to encourage eager parents, this wasn't simply a digital version of the peg board they could buy their kids for $1. Instead, this was a puzzle game meant to test theirs and their children's knowledge with over 100 puzzles devised by the fiendish Professor Lazlo. As you might expect from any puzzle game worth its salt, Lazlo's Leap's 100 puzzles are on a slow difficulty curve, introducing the player to the key rules of playing on an English peg solitaire board first, and then ramping up the difficulty. Using the A button, you must jump over the pegs one at a time, until only one peg is left in the middle of the board, thus completing the puzzle. And that's pretty much all there is to it. No timer, no nasty surprises, just a series of solitaire-based challenges to enjoy on a long train ride or while sunning yourself at the beach. The only restraint in place is a par for each solution, apparently set by the professor on each stage to show you the minimum amount of moves required to clear a stage. But the only apparent penalty for scoring lower than this par is that the anime bunny lady that is a hallmark of the Hector titles simply says okay instead of good. As I didn't hit par on each stage, I can't tell you if this is some kind of requirement to review any kind of ending for the game, but due to its open-ended nature, allowing the player to select any puzzle at any time, I don't think there is an ending more than you turning off the game. When you do turn off the title, however, you can actually rest easy knowing that Lazlo's Leap, of all games to incorporate one, actually has a battery save function, meaning you can play a few levels, then simply save up and switch off without fear of having to restart the game again later. Better still, the game actually allows for 2 players. By pressing the select button at any time, the game will allow you to switch between players, making it a good one for entertaining the kids on a long trip in the back of the car. Strangely enough, the game's 100th puzzle is actually just a traditional peg solitaire board that by the time you get there is actually very easy to solve if you know how. It actually works against the game a little, as before that, the negative space on the board actually creates more of a challenge than the classic puzzle that I'd assume if you liked Peg Solitaire enough to buy a game, you'd probably already know the answer to. One really nice mechanic that I do appreciate in Lazlo's Leap, however, is that Hector took the idea of one piece jumping at a time into consideration, and made multiple leaps easier for the player to perform. If after selecting one piece to jump, the player clicks A only once to select it, you can actually press A as many times as you want after a valid jump to checkerboard a piece together. If you're more comfortable making these moves manually, however, the game won't penalise you for doing that either, which is pretty okay in my books. The game also rather nicely has an unlimited undo feature by pressing start and backstep. Alternatively, if you feel you've completely botched up a puzzle or would like to choose another, you can also do this at any time by hitting restart. The game is naturally visually and musically simple, but don't let that put you off. Lazlo's Leap is, if you're a fan of solitaire, definitely a title worth picking up. For all its simplicity, I had a lot of fun playing it as well. I grew up playing Peg Solitaire. The digitalisation of this classic game is actually quicker and more rewarding than a physical board, as it offers and sets up scenarios that are always challenging, but also beatable. Just to quickly address if there's any difference between the game versions, other than the word erase being kill in the Japanese version of the game, both are in English, and even if the import cart wasn't, it would be incredibly accessible to importers because of its easy to navigate menu system. Pick it up if you're a fan of Solitaire or a good puzzle game, but if not, maybe give it a miss. It's not a giant leap for the Game Boy, but a small step in the right direction if you're looking for a fun little time killer. And that brings us to the end of another Boyographic, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you've enjoyed. If you have, then please check out some more content on the site and encourage people you think that may be interested to subscribe, as, hey, that's how it gets around. If you have or not already subscribed and are new to the channel, why not check out some more of our Boyographic videos where I look at the highs and lows of the Game Boy library one card at a time. Check out our Boy Curious videos where I look at bootlegs and oddities for the system, as well as All the Glory, where I play through a game, carrying out all the deaths, leaving you none of the faff, but all the glory. Until next week, Game Boys and Girls, a massive thank you. I've hit 1,000 subscribers. I plan on doing a video addressing this closer to Christmas, so look out for that. But until then, please let me know what you'd like to see next on the channel in the comments down below, or if you've played Lazlo Leap and what you thought of it. But until then, you can find me on Twitter at Gameboy and Facebook and Instagram at the same place. Take it easy, viewers, and remember to game on.